Welcome everyone to the first meeting of the Voter Assistance Advisory Committee. I am Amy Lopez. I'm the Executive Director of the Campaign Finance Board. Father Parks, who is our chair, sends his regrets that he couldn't be here today to welcome you all personally. I'm sure at some point he will be able to attend. I'm happy that you all could be here today to introduce the members of the new Voter Assistance Advisory Committee of the Campaign Finance Board. The CFB has 20 years of experience of engaging New York City voters in the electoral process through the Public Matching Funds Program, the Voter Guide, and the Debate Program. The CFB is extremely pleased to expand that mandate to include enhancing voter participation in the process. I look very much forward to working with the members of the VAAC and the public to fulfill this important mandate. I guess, also I would like to just add that the meetings of the Voter Assistance Advisory Committee will be held in public, as this meeting is. And I guess I'm sorry, I got to the final. I turn the rest of the welcomes, give a little brief order of the meeting. What we will do is Art Chang, the chair of the committee, will give some brief remarks, and then the members of the committee are going to introduce themselves, and then we will have an update on the activities by Onita, Karen Mayers, who is the Director of Voter Assistance, and a discussion of some business.
Thank you very much, Amy. It's really an honor to be here. I think I'm the least qualified of people around this table to be sitting at the table, so it's really a pleasure, and for the folks who are not part of the committee, thank you for your attending and your participation. Just as kind of way of quick background, voter participation is very important to me. As I came here, I was actually born in this country, although someone may have to find a birth certificate to prove that. But until 1972, my parents, who immigrated from Korea, were not allowed to become citizens. And when I was 9 years old, I helped my parents study for their American citizenship test. And that created an indelible impression on me. I've also had the privilege of working inside government and gained a very deep respect for the people who work in government, for the folks who serve in elected positions, and bring that as well to the table. I've been on public boards and nonprofit boards for the past 15 years, and I've also been honored to serve with people who are extremely dedicated to the public interest, trying to find ways to improve the lives of ordinary Americans, primarily here in New York. There's a very big mandate in front of us, and our goal is to increase voter participation in municipal elections. We all know what the statistics are. I mean, 1/3 of voters participated in the last mayoral election. New York City votes less than citizens vote less than citizens in other major cities, and we have a civic duty to get people to register and vote. But I think one of the most important things is this begins with engagement. How do we engage with people? How do we create a commons that brings candidates and their messages together with citizens in a way that is understandable, that empowers candidates to get their message across, but also empowers your average citizen to really understand what the candidates stand for and engage with them. The Campaign Finance Board, I'm very proud to be part of as a board member, has done an amazing job in leading the country in leveling the playing field through matching funds participation and through other areas of enforcement and transparency, and particularly in the financial area. And we can continue that mission and extend that. Transparency is obviously a very, very key piece of what we need to do. But another part of that is actually taking what the Campaign Finance Board has already done in terms of providing technologies that allow candidates to manage their campaigns, to be in compliance, but then also to provide that transparency to the public about where the sources of money are coming from and how they're being used. It's a very, very interesting and important mandate, and I think we have an opportunity to continue that. We had a prior conversation where several folks talked about sort of the importance of measurement and metrics. We also know that of the 8+ million people, depending on whether you believe the census or not, it may be larger. The 4.6 million people are registered to vote. How do we get scalability in our efforts? Scalability is a very, very challenging thing. We need to, get people to go out and participate, to vote. We need to get people, citizens of power, to be able to feel like they have direct engagement with people who represent them. We need people who want to, or who are competing to represent the constituents, to get their message out and explain why they're different and how they're going to create value for their communities. And I think we have an opportunity to do that. The challenges seem pretty clear to me in terms of what we have to accomplish. I bring to the table as well working in technology for the past 15 years. And the one place where you get scalability, you get direct communications, you get accountability, and you have measurement based upon real data is via technology. And I think as President Obama demonstrated in his last campaign, the ability for a candidate to effectively use social media and technology to expand their reach and to shift the balance of power was extremely successful, regardless of what political belief you hold. And I think there's a lot to be learned from that, and it's really an inspiration to everybody about how technology can be used to further democracy. When I think about what the potential is here, and I imagine some real things. I can imagine where a system where every candidate for public office doesn't have to go out and engage a separate consultant to reach their constituents via contemporary software tools. Can you imagine a situation where the average constituent can actually see what their candidates stand for without having to leave their home or their office? Can you imagine a system where, candidates and the Campaign Finance Board enjoy the benefits of enabling small-time contributions to happen in an automated way that eases compliance and encourages more people to participate in the campaign contribution arena? And then can you imagine a system that actually integrates all these things and enables candidates to spend less time on compliance and more time thinking about what their messages should be and actually engaging with the voters? I'm working on a project right now for the Annie Casey Foundation, and we have taken certain technology and actually brought it to government using social networking as a framework. We believe firmly that technology is the only way to really advance government operations and to sort of see the future. In this particular case, technology then also allows the alignment of policy and practice around the technology that's very flexible. We had mentioned training before, and the needs of training. In our current application, we're working with a system that has typically spent 3 to 9 months getting people trained on the technology, and we have seen 20-something-year-old workers be able to use it without any training whatsoever. So I think the promise is very huge, and it's really a privilege to be here. I don't know if you want to introduce some of the committee members, terrific. So, Jane, would you kick off?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm Jane Kalmus. I was appointed to the Voter Assistance Advisory Committee in January by Speaker Christine Quinn, and I was very proud to accept her invitation to join the Voter Assistance Unit at the Campaign Finance Board. My background has been in community service and in government, starting in the time that I spent at City Hall as Director of Communications for Mayor Wagner. And that goes back to probably before some of you were born, in 1961, 2, 3, and 4. I've spent 22 years with the Voter Assistance Commission, appointed in 1989, and serving. Our first chairman was Father O'Hare, and it was a privilege to start out on this extraordinary journey with this man as our chairman. I have very deep feelings about the words voter assistance. I want the voter to feel that we, as the Voter Assistance Advisory Committee, are there for them individually. And how we do this is going to be up to the Voter Assistance Unit at the Campaign Finance Board. I hope that we will take advantage of the extraordinary experience of my fellow commission members, many of whom you will meet here today, and come up with a program that is designed specifically to educate and to feel an important part of the government of the city of New York by casting their vote. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Jackie Sherman, and I am counsel to Public Advocate Bill de Blasio, and I'm here today representing the Public Advocate. Public Advocate de Blasio regrets that he was unable to join the meeting today. He is deeply committed to the goals of the committee, and our office looks forward to working with VAAC and with the CFB to promote voter participation and overall strengthen the city's democracy. So it's a great privilege to be here this morning. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is John Avalon. I'm one of Mayor Bloomberg's appointees. I'm on the Board of Citizens Union, co-chair of the Municipal Affairs Committee, and worked on their Charter Revision Commission proposals, one of which was the creation of this board, so it's a special pleasure. Before I worked in city government as Rudy Giuliani's chief speechwriter and deputy communications director. Subsequently, I've worked in journalism, currently a columnist at Newsweek and Daily Beast, and civil contributor. But it's a special honor and privilege to be back working on civic issues, especially this issue, because it gets to the heart of so much of what we should all care about. I focus a lot on independent voters, just the focus nationally, so many people being disengaged. And just saying that as a New Yorker, New York shouldn't be last to anything. and the fact that we were last in 2010 with 2 open Senate seats and a gubernatorial race should be a huge civic wake-up call to us all. And it really is it's an opportunity, it's a challenge, and I'm really optimistic about the good work we can do to help get a civic shot in the arm and get some more people participating in the process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Tony Casino. I'm an attorney at a law firm here in the city. I run the firm's pro bono practice, and I come to this issue with a couple of perspectives that relate directly to it. I was a candidate for the city council in 2009, and of course 2009 was the low among lows when it comes to voter turnout. And I was also on the Charter Commission that in 2010 that helped to create what we have here today, the new commission. So I come to this with having seen it from a number of different perspectives, and you know, it almost invariably in all those perspectives, it all comes back to, you know, the need to figure out this challenge of how do you get people engaged, how do you get them to come out to vote, and why don't they, and how do we measure what we're doing is whether it's fruitful. And I love a number of the things that aren't mentioned, you know, because we're trying to close that gap and trying to make it as accessible and as easy to figure it all out for anybody at any position anywhere. And I still remain convinced, and this will be part of our discussions as we go forward, that we can close that gap entirely. CFB is phenomenal at doing a lot of that. Technology will help us do that. It's revolutionized campaigns and contact with the public. We can close all of that in, but at the end of the day, I still think the problem will be is voters have to understand that these local elections are important. They will vote for the president. They might vote for a governor, but they believe that the municipal elections, whether it's public advocate, whether it's a city council, they just don't believe they don't see the real value. Meanwhile, the real impact to their lives every day is much more, it's much more tied to these municipal elections than they are to a presidential election. I think we're going to close it, we're going to look for ways to close those gaps, but at the core of it is going to be, you need to change that, because I've seen where people have had all those things. They have all the access, they know exactly what's going on, they were well informed, they were mailed 50 times, they had everything. De Blasio's campaign was one of the best at mailing. People would complain to me, I'm getting 4 a day and they're really long. So people were well informed, but they were tuned out, and why? So I think we'll have to grapple with that at the core of this thing. That's going to wind up being it. But we have, there's very few other things that I would want to put my time as much towards as doing this. If we could have an impact on bridging that and getting people more engaged, I would be thrilled, and it would be time well spent. So thanks.
Good morning, my name is Valerie Vasquez. I'm the Director of Communications for the New York City Board of Elections. I'm here on behalf of Dawn Sandow, our Deputy Executive Director. I look forward to working with VAAC as we have in the past, and continue to work with our relationship moving forward to educate the voters in the City of New York.
Oh, I guess I was actually just going to introduce me. I thought that we were of the similar mind. I guess the next order of business is introduction and brief update by Anita, and I guess everyone, when we released our first voter assistance annual report on April 30th, and so Anita's going to give a quick summary and update and introduce herself and the important work that she's been doing for all these years.
Thank you, Amy. My name is Onita Coward-Mayers, and I'm the Director of the Voter Assistance Unit at the Campaign Finance Board. First, I'd just like to say how happy I am to be part of the CFB family, and what a great launch and beginning this is going to be for the voters of New York City. We're talking already about elections, and of course the big issue is voter apathy and voter turnout and voter participation. Clearly, voters are not connected to, they're not connected, they don't see the importance of the connection, and they, in some cases, do not care about the importance of the connection. That's going to be a tough task for us, bringing that together. One of the ways we are going to do that is to provide and to begin an analysis of what those voting trends are, and that's the top order of business at the Campaign Finance Board, is to analyze the playing field and to work with credible universities and organizations to help us to understand where those pockets are. The charter calls for us to identify targeted populations that are traditionally underrepresented. And the way to do that is to do a complete analysis, looking at numbers that we can work with the Board of Elections, we can work with the census, and various other streams, but to then analyze where are those pockets truly, and to develop a plan coming from that. Every year is an election year in New York City, and we need New Yorkers to make that connection first. This year, while it might be a slow election year in terms of judicial elections and district attorneys, it is still an election year. And some might argue that the people our voters come most in contact with are those members of the judicial elections. So we are definitely planning and revving up for 2012
But we must be mindful that every year is an election year and that the connection has to be made with voters, that we need their participation and their engagement. Some of the work that we have been doing and that we're poised to prepare is things that are mandated through the local laws, through the charter of the New York City. Local Law 29 calls for the Campaign Finance Board to work with 19 city agencies to distribute voter registration forms, and beyond that, to really bolster and to have a robust voter education plan where agencies take responsibility of sending a clear message of when are the deadlines for voter registration, when is election day, why should voters participate, and we can help them with those messages and prepare prepackaged messages that can be PSAs, that can be video, that can be on internet, social media. Many of the agencies are now, you can follow them on Twitter. So we're meeting with them individually, not trying to have one big plan, but to have different plans that are specialized, that can meet the needs of their constituents and their customers, and to have them help us in this grander plan. So we're really saying that when we look at these devastating numbers of voter participation, we realize we can no longer say that it's people out there who aren't voting. It's all of us. It's people we know who aren't voting. So taking that into consideration, the plan has got to be something that is completely inclusive of all New Yorkers and that everyone has a role to play. So that's what we're looking to strive for in terms of increasing voter participation. It goes on to local law number 34, which requires the Department of Education to distribute voter registration forms to every graduating high school senior with their diploma. We are also expanding that program to make sure that, first of all, students who are reaching the age of 18 or even 17 to understand why they should register to vote. What does a voter registration form look like? And when I get it, what do I do with it? So we're working with the Department of Education on some of those issues and to have milestones where we can really mark when a student will be interested in completing that voter form and participating in the process, including them being involved in the electoral process. So not just as a voting member, but also maybe as a working member. So we will continue our relationships with the Department of Education in that area. We have, as we prepare for 2012, which is the year that we're expecting we will get the most participation, we want to capitalize on that to be able to leverage it. So the analysis will help us to develop a plan of how we operate throughout 2012 and beyond. So we are seeking partners, and we are currently having conversations with people who are interested in working with us, that we can make the largest impact in the city in terms of voter registration and voter participation. We have started a program that is youth related, youth specific, which is called the Youth Poet Laureate Program, where we engage teens between the ages of 16 and 19 to be our ambassadors, basically, speaking to their peers about the importance of voting. We do this through, they use a medium of spoken word, and it has been very successful. In the month of April alone, they were able to speak before 5,000 students throughout all 5 boroughs and registering their peers. So peer-to-peer contact seems to be very successful for them. And I think I'll stop there. Is that okay? Thank you.
Well, I guess I would echo, something that Tony said and Anita said. I learned, in the very first campaign that I ever, did any work on, how important municipal elections are, and I've kept that with me. I mean, I think that people don't realize that, while the president is probably the most public person you see, what he does probably has the least impact on your day-to-day life than, of any elected official. But I guess in some of the research that we're looking at, one of the things that they say is the most essential to getting people out to the polls is giving an invitation for them to vote. And so in that spirit, I would like to invite, the people who are here as the members of the public. I don't, as I say, we've been joined by someone who's not at the table, if you want to come and join us, if they want to share their thoughts and goals for this important work that we're going to engage in. Make you come to the table and then speak first if you want to. We can go with someone else.
I'll introduce myself and we can go around. I'm Jenna Adams. I work for Assembly Member Brian Kavanaugh. I work for the New York State Assembly.
I'm William Colgrove. I work for Councilmember Gail Brewer.
I'm Neil Rosenstein. I work with NYC, the New York Public Interest Research Group.
And I guess I realized that we went around the table, we neglected to introduce our youth coordinator. Do you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Cheyenne Sapp. I'm the youth voter coordinator. I spearhead the NYC VAAC Meeting.
And I guess I don't know if people who are members of the public want to, I know Neil had expressed an interest to make a statement. I don't know if other people do.
Sure, and I really appreciate the opportunity. As I said, I'm Neil Rosenstein. I serve as a government reform coordinator for NYC, the New York Public Interest Research Group. And just like the Voter Assistance Advisory Commission, acronyms I think are really useful sometimes. It's a pleasure to be addressing you this morning in public session. I'd like also to say I think it's great that the meeting is being webcast. We also think that's fantastic. A little bit of background, NYC is, myself as well, has been around for a while, and we're proud of the role we played actually in the first crafting of the Voter Assistance Commission and some of the work we did in the Charter Commission this time around, and helping shape the Voter Assistance Advisory Committee as well. The intent and hope back in '88 was that the city not only can, but should play a more aggressive role encouraging voter participation as well as voter education, and I was really gratified to hear the statements of everyone this morning around the table and some of your thoughts on how to go forward with that. We think VAAC has found a great home back here at the Campaign Finance Board, and look forward to the committee getting down to the serious issues of your work. Before that, I do want to, in essence, digress or say that there was some debate or miscommunication about your first meeting, and I was glad to hear it sound like you'll be having your meetings in public. I do think it's something you should consider, and I think you should formally embrace or endorse, if not recognize that you may be legally or not legally subject to the open meetings law. That is policy, that you'll follow it, because not only with open meetings, there are also notification provisions that you'll be taking minutes, or perhaps the webcast thing that will subject yourself to FOIL. The same standards that the Campaign Finance Board itself is following, the Voter Assistance Commission followed. I think it's great that there's a public component to those meetings as well, and I'm sure there's a lot of other transparency issues involved, and I think that would be a great first or early order of business for you folks to endorse, so the civic community and the public know where we're going from this step forward. Just a brief moment on substance, and I just want to say that I thought it was great to hear all of your notions about metrics, and we really don't know where we have to go if we don't know where we're at. And I think that's really important that the whole Voter Assistance Commission at one point in time have someone who just worked on metrics. They have someone, just like the Campaign Finance Board, comes up with looking at problems and saying, not what can we do, but what can government do, that actually proposed legislation, was a lobbyist up in Albany for a period of time. And we hope that the Campaign Finance Board will look at including some proposals in your legislative packet, not only about how to strengthen the campaign finance program as we go forward, but also how to encourage electoral participation. We hope the agency-based mandate, which you folks have, to take a look at and to collaboratively make recommendations with the city on how to strengthen that first step in the process, getting folks registered to vote, is carried out. And I love their thoughts on technology. Why can't someone on their computer or on an app not only get your voter guide, you get the Board of Elections new sample ballot, and a host of other information, a poll site locator in one package. So there's a lot to do. This is a fantastic group of people seated around the table, and we're looking forward to continuing our work with this new incarnation of VAAC.
Anyway, thank you so much for being here. I wanted to actually make a comment.
I'm sorry, unless you want to make a comment directly, did you want to make a statement?
No, just happy to be here, echo Neil's statements, and Councilmember Brewer sends her regrets that she's unable to be here. Unfortunately, she's teaching a class this morning, but looking forward to working with all of you. Thanks for having us.
Likewise.
So just to, I think just kind of have a few notes, and this is my first time chairing a public committee or board, so I have to, I'm new at this, but what I have is my experience being on the board or the Campaign Finance Board, and doing public boards. But the goal here is really to make this really an open conversation. We're not a deliberative body, we're not like the Campaign Finance Board and issuing opinions about whether folks are in compliance or out of compliance. I think what we have here is actually a common vision, common mission, common purpose. There are things that we want to achieve that we can't do on our own. We need the participation, the active participation of everybody around this table, of the staff of the Campaign Finance Board, and the people who represent the citizens of the city, actually as everyday citizens, as well as representing the organizations that they're from. And so I really respect the fact that we're here, and I just wanted to say that, the way that we are going to run this is going to be appropriately open, and I'd love to get your input into how we can make sure that we get that insight and input and all your experience in working on this issue over the years. So in that spirit, I think one of the things that I want to do that is, first of all, I want to thank Eric Friedman and then Louisa Perlsik on my team, who had actually, before I was appointed as chair, we spent some time sort of looking at sort of the public context of voter participation in elections. Eric found and brought to my attention a phenomenal report from the Knight Foundation that I think I would encourage everybody to look at, and you can circulate that to everybody, I'll link to everybody. But it says some major sort of ideas about how technology is necessary to increase citizen engagement in government, and to actually bring service back to the concept of public service. And so along those lines, we drafted a statement about about a model for 21st century democracy, which we believe the Voter Assistance Advisory Committee is in the position to spearhead, given New York City's, especially given New York City's history of being at the forefront of a lot of these election issues. So what I'm going to do now is actually circulate in paper form to anybody who's interested a draft of this, and it's a draft. So this means that we really welcome the input, criticism, comments on this draft, so that we can actually make this something which represents all the voices around this table, and hopefully other voices, in the city as well, and then can lead toward, a little vision statement and a mission statement that we can all use as sort of our measuring pole going forward. And I'll circulate that in paper now, and then we'll also circulate that electronically.
If you don't know,
Yeah, you want to give me one more, just for
you want to stick on the next one, see the next one, I'll just make it up. It's just one page. It's just one page. It's two-sided, one page.
Two-sided.
Two-sided, two email, yeah.
That's great.
I mean, I guess the only other, issue is the, talk about the schedule. I mean, as the committee members know, and the other member of the public know, the charter requires that this committee meet bi-monthly, and that there are 2 public hearings, and so I think that it would be good to set the dates, I mean, maybe at least for the very next meeting, and hopefully talk about the schedule for the public hearing, because one of the public hearings is to be held after the issuance of the report, which was issued on April 30th. And as we know, as you know, what happens in the summer in New York and everywhere, it'd probably be better to have that hearing, sooner rather than later. So, I have some proposed meeting dates for the bi-monthly for the rest of the year. They are just proposals, the time and everything based on, really, I think the only schedule we checked was ours. And that they're not actually at the exact same time as the Campaign Finance Board meetings. So I'll pass that proposed schedule around. Again, I hope I have made enough copies. Yeah, I didn't actually. They're actually, that's revised. Because originally we were going to have them the day before every board meeting, and thought that would be better if it was the week before. Oh, thank you. Did people need a copy of this vision? Yeah, okay. That's my turn.
Oh, sure.
It's slightly different. I think we changed the dates to not have them be so coordinated with the, and I actually now don't have one, because now I do. So if someone could give me one of them, I would read it. Good. It'll be made public on the website as soon as it's decided. So I don't rely on this, that everybody will have to memorize this from this piece of paper. So I guess the first, issue is Wednesday was sort of just a kind of a random looks like today, mainly because the Campaign Finance Board meetings are on Thursdays. And again, as I said, these are dates and times that are, we just selected as convenient. So I don't know if people have suggestions on other times, other ways to meet. The Campaign Finance Board has historically always met at our offices. I guess that is not necessary. Obviously, the public hearing would have to be held in a bigger form than this room, which is where we hold the Campaign Finance Board meetings. I would suggest talking about the public hearing date, which there is no suggestion for right now. I think that June is the appropriate month to hold that, and I don't know if people have suggestions on what is the appropriate date for that based on, I guess the second half would be a good idea to give enough time to publicize it, because we're already scarily almost in the middle of May. So I don't know if people have suggestions about that.
When's graduation? Would it help to publicize the meeting around the time of graduation without having a synergistic effect?
No, I think it complicates. This is our first public hearing of the voter assistance committee. And I think that coming out of the blue, having so much to discuss, giving the public a chance to listen and then participate, it should be sooner rather than later in June because of vacation time and the big 4th of July holiday.
So I will just suggest a random date, which, just people can react to, is to have it, Anita, it's correct that the public hearings are usually in the evening, and I think that, I think people are in agreement that that is the better time because it's more accessible for the general public. So at least the hearings should be an evening hour. I just, it is completely random, just suggest Wednesday, June 15th. It's the middle of the month. I don't know what people's calendars look like. Hopefully there'll be additional people appointed by then, that would be good.
When do you say the evening? What time are you thinking?
I don't know, Anita didn't.
Meeting session and then go on at 6.
So have the meeting at 5 and then have the public hearing begin at 6.
I think that sounds very good. June 15th at 5. And then the public participation at 6. How is that?
I think that's right.
Regular schedule's complicated.
It's fine for me, actually.
Okay, so that, and we will work on finding a venue that's, appropriate size to hold that public hearing. So that will, and I guess the only reason to change that would be is if we can't find a venue to hold it on the 15th, but, we'll endeavor to do that. So that being decided, I guess the next question, in a theoretical way, is whether the meetings, these bi-monthly meetings that are required, whether they too should be evening meetings, or at least some of them evening meetings, and whether they should be held here at our offices. I would personally advocate for that because it is easier for us to do the web streaming and have the facilities to do web streaming if they are in the same place every time, so I just think that that's just easier. So if everyone's in agreement with that issue, we can move on to, figuring out whether morning or evening works better. I have no opinion about whether morning or evening is better. I leave it to the committee of what people would prefer. I know the Board of Elections has their meetings in the afternoon, right? At 2, right?
1:30.
I
Yeah.
think, can I raise this point and related tonight? I look at our early process here early on is really educating ourselves about a lot of these issues and hearing from the public is a big one. Looking at some studies is another one. So if I could make 2 recommendations or requests. One is I'd like to know how much in the way of reports or studies that we have that relate to voting specifically in New York and why people vote and don't vote. What's out there would be helpful for us to start with, all of us being on the same page. And quite frankly, if there isn't anything really on point that's recent, whether we should think about engaging maybe a university or somewhere that could help us with putting together something that will give us some, as we design, as we think about what we want to do that might have an impact on this. I think we need to know the fundamental question is why aren't people voting? What are the reasons and what would get them to vote? What would make you come out to vote? And I think that getting some of that information will help us think about, will this be effective? Is this something we should be spending our time on or not? Whatever proposal we're thinking about. And relatedly, so I'd love to get as much information that's out there, gather it, and then think about whether if that's not on point, whether we can do something with getting something put together. And then relatedly, it comes to meet with the public. And, I recommend as much as it's more difficult, I think, for some of us to do it in the evening, I think the evening's going to mean that the public can make it. It's 10 o'clock, the public can't make it. And, giving a nod to that. The other thing is that I agree, it's easier to meet here, and maybe that should be our regular meetings. And just a thought, and this comes to me from the Charter Commission, is that would it make sense early on, and maybe this is not something we do all the time, but early on, would it make sense to try and reach out to the boroughs and meet in the boroughs, maybe as part of, maybe not part of our more formal schedule, but having a public hearing where people could come. I don't know if anybody would come. I hope people would come to give us their input about all of these issues. But I think that it would be great to hear. I learned so much from going to the other boroughs and giving people a chance to go right in the neighborhoods. And again, sometimes the Charter Commission meetings, nobody, relatively speaking, very few people attended. So I don't know whether we would get people to come, but I'd love to give people a chance to say, we're thinking about all these things, we're working on our mission statement, we're working towards trying to really have an impact on this, but we need to hear from you, and we'll come to your borough and give you an opportunity to come and yell at us, or whatever it is that whatever important thing you want to raise regarding this kind of issue. But I put it out there as a thought. I don't know if it would have the impact that we would want it to have.
I think that is a good idea, and I think we can I mean, as I said, the charter mandates, the certain things, but I mean, obviously, we can always do more. I mean, it's not there's no, and I think that's not, I guess, definitely think reaching out is a good idea.
May I address that, please? In the 20-odd years that we have held public meetings, we tried that approach. Your idea is an excellent one, and I would be all for going out to the various boroughs. I only ask that you don't do it right away, because we have to establish our identity first in the borough of Manhattan. And I think that you also have to take into consideration that 40 Rector Street is a very difficult place for people to come to at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, even though it's summertime and it's light. So taking that into consideration, would you agree that we could travel out maybe to the place that you chose in Brooklyn? Took us an hour and 10 minutes to get there. There were no buses and no subways. And that really, you're trying to attract the voter. And you want to make it as easy as possible on them. Less travel time and a location that is easily accepted.
Something I wanted to add as an additional benefit of being part of the Campaign Finance Board is that we are able to, we're working right now on an initiative led by Eric Friedman to work with the Capstone Project at NYC Wagner to assist us with this study. So we feel, we're hoping, this is one of the partners that we're actually putting out there, that we're hoping this will come through. We have every indication to think that we will be able to do this. And if that does happen, it will start this fall. And we would have certain deliverables that we would get this by the end of this year and be completed by the time their school year ends, which is in May. So that's one thing. Secondly, in terms of the public hearings also, and that ties into the study, is that we're thinking of doing maybe focus groups. So maybe instead of, jumping into having large-scale meetings in the different boroughs, we can work with some of our partners to identify and to target particular groups that we can begin meeting with in a focused manner. And then they can help us to get to who their constituents are, that we can make sure we can assure an audience when we are ready and prepared to move forward in a public hearing fashion in the boroughs.
Just to amend that, and as part of the local law 29, when we're meeting with the individual agencies, we've come up against that question of why are people not voting or not voting, and doing some of the techniques I'm going to mention, we can start with at least that identifiable population and doing either focus groups or surveys within that community, which should be a very engaged community as city employees and dealing with city agencies, and find out why even that group is not participating.
I have a bunch of ideas about this. I think you're you're spot on about a number of things. The outreach, getting more people to participate, getting the most number of people heard. And so whenever I hear most, right, and broadest reach, it's technology, right? And it's also about kind of engaging folks, so I think it's in a couple different lenses. Number one, how do you get the most number of people to be aware of the hearing and potentially participate? Number two is, can we actually, if we're thinking about this as something to address your point about the people who vote tend to be the older folks, but can we actually get people engaged who are the younger folks? Can we actually address a demographic that we're currently not addressing through using technology, and also maybe by the setting in which this is held? The third thing is, how do we get people excited? Right? Because it's not just about getting input, but this is, we need to kind of, I think we have an imperative to create a level of excitement that this is such a big idea that people need to have a way to engage with it. whether they're registered to vote or they're not registered to vote. We need to hear from them and get as many people as possible interested in this idea, which means that it has to be front and center in their minds. It has to sort of disrupt their daily routines in order for it to really be remain meaningful. And I think it's really terrific, that we have folks, are in this room who are in their 20s and 30s who have actually engaged in social media, because that's where it all starts in my mind. So I would have a few suggestions. Number one is that we look into technologies that can actually allow this to be simulcast, to allow a Twitter stream to be fed onto a screen at the hearing so that people who are in the room can see it and we can all benefit from that live interaction. That maybe we can engage with, there was actually a Facebook feed to figure out whether people actually can chat on Facebook in real time with people who may be engaged with this. And then whether we actually have a way to measure whether the hearing itself is getting any buzz in the public. So we have, there's some folks out there who specialize in social media measurement, and we can actually measure our impact via social media. Because one thing, if people come, but if the awareness is getting out there, that in some ways that's more important in some sense than letting people actually show up and participate. So a specific proposal would be to actually host this at a university. So like FIT has a fantastic auditorium that seats about 800 people. They regularly open it up to public events. Like New York Tech Meetup is held there. And universities are fantastic because they not only hit the right demographic, but they draw students from every borough in the city. And that's powerful. So if we want to address the multi-borough thing, that actually can go some way to address that. And maybe we can actually then set up, want to actually have this in, I don't know how quickly we can get all this together, but can we actually set up satellite centers at Queens College and Brooklyn College and University of Staten Island and the Bronx, so that people actually, you can actually experiment in a relatively low-cost way with seeing if we can get engagement in those communities for what we're doing. I'd also suggest that that because this also is outreach that's focused on people who are technology savvy, that if we have the right level of engagement and the right level of interest, then what's important, where it all starts, is actually engaging those folks who are going to spread the word. People who are rabid Twitter users, the bloggers, and so one of the things that I think I would like to be able to do, and I know that I can make this available to me and to our committee, is to make a presentation in front of New York Tech Meetup. 600 to 1,000 people can make a good presentation, and you can actually get the bloggers and the New York Tech community involved in actually getting the word out. So I can pretty much say that if we do that, we can get 10,000, 20,000 impressions at the low end of the range. And we can start getting the message out, and I think we really count.
Maybe not in the less technical way. Maybe we think about whether we want to partner with organizations that, for example, if we thought about going into Brooklyn. First of all, you have a lot of elected officials who would love to see this happens, that people feel engaged, and as well, you have organizations out there that are engaged in all of these issues, and if we partner with them, they co-sponsored this opportunity to come and do this. They might bring us a lot of the outreach in the bodies and let people know that we can people may not even be able to reach. So I think if you do both, if you do the technology and you do the kind of on-the-ground partnering, you might be able to come up with a really good buzz and a really good outreach that use everything you can to get people there. But I think it's part of our mandate to get out there and making sure that our meetings are accessible both in terms of time and location. It will make the big difference and will educate us tremendously about what people want to see, what would make a difference to them, and we have to figure out how to get out there.
And Neil, I have this question to Neil. Neil represents, I think these organizations are aggregators of audience, right? They're aggregators of committed, passionate audience who believe in the cause that's aligned with our issues. So, for my part, is is this an issue that you think your members would be interested in? And is there a way for you to do outreach?
Well, certainly, and I think it's extraordinary, and hopefully could serve as a model for a lot of other agencies. I must profess that working for a college student organization, I still don't have a smartphone, myself, but, I'm in the minority, and particularly when I go to our campus chapters and see the folks who are Twittering and using the social media that we're talking about, it's a tool and it's a way to investigate, engage. Because the ways that we're used to, and wonderful as the voter guide is and everything else, the youth demographic is not turning out in this high number. There's not a lot of other demographics that are as well. And we would welcome the opportunity to partner and work with you. And I'm sure there's a lot of universities, and I think isn't that would be interested as well.
So can I make a suggestion that, related to both of, the things that we've been talking about, is that I would have the staff prepare for the committee, kind of pull together the learning that there is, to the extent there is applicable learning on this issue, both nationally and if, specifically to New York City. That we pull that together and send you just some sites for that materials, and that we say right now what we'll do is June 15th we'll have a meeting at 5 p.m. and a public hearing at 6 p.m. And that we'll do a proposal for trying to encompass some of these, satellite simulcasts and new media, multimedia kind of setups, and meeting with various partners to perhaps do that and come up with a proposal of how, even on this first June 15th meeting, we can do some of this, and then, then hopefully we gauge enough buzz related to that, it's easy moving forward, and, hopefully we can pull that together. I'm thinking, though, I'm thinking about the day that it is, and perhaps it is ambitious to think that that can actually happen. So I present you with a choice. Either we can move that meeting to be, even because we're talking about having really only 3 weeks to pull that together, which I think could happen, but partners and universities have other schedules and things planned already, including possibly graduations, that we either just move it at least 1 week more to the 22nd, or we understand that we'll try and do as much of these kind of things as we can for this first meeting, and make a good first effort, and but perhaps we won't be able to get everything done. And so I even on the 22nd, I couldn't guarantee that we will try, but it's I think the 22nd would be more realistic to try to achieve that.
I'm fine with that, and I think we understand that this is an evolutionary process, but so we know the tone and the direction, and I'd only ask one thing, that as your staff circulates the best sort of data going forward, that because I think we're all in agreement that technology is going to be a really important piece of what's going forward, we have specifically a sort of tech best practices, looking at what other cities or states have been doing with technology, so we can just sort of see what's going on already.
I think just one thing I want to add, and this relates to the timetable as well as to the scalability of this, is that I think we have to get out of the mentality of the DIY, that we have to do it here, that there are just a huge number of startups and established companies in New York City who will be excited to participate in this on a pro bono basis. And, I already have some preliminary conversations with some of the folks who represent some of those groups, and we know that there would be tremendous interest in helping out. So,
Great.
I offer my connections to anybody on the staff who's going to be pursuing this.
I was definitely going to plan on leveraging that, because I frankly don't know, and I'm with Neil, I may have a smartphone, but pretty much my extent of knowing what, Twitter actually just send me an email telling me that you haven't been on Twitter in a long time. So I definitely, appreciate the offer and any help that we can get.
And that's the point, and obviously people are getting something. I'm very excited about this, but it's we have a unique opportunity. And part of the opportunity is that we as government and we as folks who have run for office or who have been part of the media are used to effortlessly push content out to people. And I think what's unique about this and why this is going to be so powerful is that we have such an important message. We're doing something that is so unique and so valuable, and it excites the imaginations of people, not just in the city, but around the country and around the world, that presented the right way, people will be pouring, offers of help will be pouring in, and people will be sharing their experiences and knowledge with us, because everybody's going to want us to succeed. And I know that, I'm completely convinced of that, and so I think our opportunity here is actually to leverage the best thinking and the best experience that is available to us globally to make this the greatest success it can be. So with that, I just want to say I think we can adjourn. Thank you everybody for your participation and involvement, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you next time.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.